going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is your friendly neighborhood horror guy, as if you didn't know, and I hope that you guys had just as good of a weekend as I did. I had plenty of time off from work. I had some time to take part in a couple of hashtag things on Instagram there. There was a hashtag horror anthology week. And this week, there is a hashtag Evil Animals Week hashtag. That's not really a hashtag, but it is kind of Evil Animals Week. So I figured I would start out my week's videos with a couple of movies that I may not think get mentioned. You never know. But I figured I'd slap a couple rarities on there and see what everybody thought. So without further ado, I'm going to slap right into this bad boy. Now, I like creature features, of course. I love anthology movies. I love monsters, but I also love the movies that take, everyday things, animals, per se, pets, and make it a terrifying experience. So, it's not to say on this list, I'm not going to have Cujo, I'm not going to have Jaws, I'm not going to have Pet Sematary, even The Thing with the dog that winds up all rabid and the aliens coming out. And it's not to say that I don't love those movies, it's just I feel like everybody, knows those movies. Even if they don't like horror, I feel like Jaws and Cujo are just typically like, oh yeah, have you ever seen, oh man, it's about this dog, so on and so forth. So I figured I would kind of take a little bit of a different angle on it, if you will. And a couple of these movies, I'm going to say 4 out of my list, I do not actually own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my state-of-the-art editing program and I'm going to superimpose the cover, maybe right here or so. So we are going to get this list started. I am going to have a cover superimposed. And we're going to start this list with number 1. It is 2014's Backcountry. Adam McDonald was the director of this bad boy. It's basically about this couple, I think newly married, or he's about to propose to her, something to the effect. They are out in the woods, they're out in the backcountry, and they're hiking, so on, and it winds up that they kind of get lost. Well, then he's, acting real cocky and like, oh yeah, I don't need the map, and he loses a couple of things on the way, so he's like, no, I don't need that. We can just follow, just being a bad mamma jamma, if you will, trying his best to impress the lady and make sure that they are not going to wind up food for whatever animals are out there for that night. And it just so happens that that is exactly what happens. If you've never seen this movie, I believe it's on Amazon Prime. I know it's on one of the streaming platforms because that's where I watched it. There is some gruesome stuff. There is some terrifying stuff in this movie. It's not to say per se that it's a horror movie, but there are a couple of scenes that do definitely make you want to turn away a little bit. Like you're not trying to. You want to look barely out of the corner of your eye, but you don't want your whole vision peeled to it. There is some definite strong violence in this movie, as far as if you are looking for something to watch and you want to watch this movie, just beware. But Backcountry is definitely a mention that I wanted to throw on this list as far as for Evil Animals Week. That is my number 1 feature on this list. And number 2, we are going to take the powers that may be and superimpose the cover. Number 2 on this list is going to be 1995's Congo. Now, once again, I don't have a physical copy of this. Frank Marshall was the director of this movie. Long before, maybe not long before, but before I realized the Evil Dead and so on and so forth. I remember watching this movie, and it just so happens that Bruce Campbell is in this movie. Bruce Campbell actually tried out for the main lead male role, the doctor, and wound up getting some small, really super corny part, but it was okay. But it was just kind of fun to see him in the movie and be like, oh, and finally realize that's Bruce Campbell. That's cool. But basically, it's this team of doctors that are in the Congo with this gorilla and teach it to communicate with them through sign language, and they have this weird bracelet and backpack thing on it so it can communicate with them, it can talk. But there's definitely some scenes where obviously there's like a silverback gorilla in it, and you know, it's just the gorillas do not want these people here. But that's not quite the scene I am going to get to. This scene in this movie where they're going down a river, going and going, and all of a sudden, like splashing out of nowhere is this huge hippo. And come to find out, in Africa, at least at the time, I remember reading up a statistic where it said that hippopotamuses killed more people than any other animal in the country. And now, you know, don't quote me as far as this is 2019. That movie came out in 1995. I don't know where in between that I read that, but I remember reading that. I was just like, oh my God. And I've got a sister-in-law who her biggest fear is hippopotamuses. And so I remember watching that movie specifically with her as well. And it was just a terrifying moment. And her fear definitely spread into it being a scary moment and bleeding into my memory forever as well. So my number 2 on this list is 1995's Congo. Now, editing number 3 transition. This is going to be number 3 on my list for Evil Animals Week, and this is going to be Silent Predators. Now, Silent Predators came out in 1999. It was a TV movie, made-for-TV movie. Noel Nosek was the director of this bad boy. The actual teleplay writer was John Carpenter, which is very, very cool. Basically, this guy in the beginning of the movie is transporting this crate of what you end up finding out is these rattlesnakes. They're like you know, inbred type super snake, if you will, and wind up crashing. And then him and the guy that are in the truck wind up getting bit and killed, and the snakes spread all over. And so there's this firefighter who winds up taking on the lead to the majority of these instances that come up as far as snake attacks. And the mayor of the town, the governor of the town are giving him a hard time as far as trying to, you know, declare a state of emergency. You know, but you develop a interest with the characters. You know, you get a couple of little fear factors there every once in a while as far as the snakes attacking, and you know, it is a good movie. I remember I went and saw this with a neighbor. We went and we hooked up a tent in his backyard, actually. We hooked up a tent. It was a few friends of ours on a summer night. Set up a tent. We got the old extension cable lured out. We brought a TV out there, and he had a VHS player that was in the TV. Popped that bad boy in. He had recorded off of the TV Silent Predators, and this movie was scary the whole night. Basically, we're sitting there in the tent, and if I can remember, I might have even actually gone home because I was just like, man, I'm not dealing with this right now. I just watched this whole thing with Silent Predators and these rattlesnakes that go and bite you and kill you in 2 seconds. I'm not sleeping out in a tent, like, you know. Just it was a funny little memory with that movie, but I always love it. If you try to get it, it's on Amazon on DVD, not even Blu-ray, and it's like $40 or like $100. Very cool movie though. If you get the opportunity, definitely watch Silent Predators. Now, for number 4 on my list, I actually have a physical copy of this one. This is George P. Cosmatos of Unknown Origin. Bam. 1983's Of Unknown Origin. This bad boy features Peter Weller, more famously known from RoboCop. This is my Warner Brothers copy of the DVD. The old cardboard case there, the chapters, the disc art. Very cool movie. Basically, this family moves into this house, gets these really nice renovations done, so on and so forth. And then it just so happens that there is a rat that is also living in the house and wanting to destroy everything that he is trying to build up so beautifully. You definitely love Peter Weller in this movie. He's kind of it becomes like a psychotic kook, if you will, but it is definitely one that I don't see talked about nearly as much as it should be. Of Unknown Origin, you gotta love the bad boy, because I do. Peter Weller is always very, very good in his art of acting and what he can bring to a role. And you know, what you end up getting out of this movie is kind of a tense feel as far as with, you know, being a new home buyer, you know, as myself, having a home for a few years, you know, if you're moving in, you're trying to make everything nice, and just the anxiety of that alone, let alone now you figure out that you've got a rat, or you've got rats, or you've got mice that are living in the house, and are destroying everything that you're trying to build up, that is annoying and definitely a fear. It's almost like a Stephen King type thing, if you think about it. To me, it kind of feels like something that ordinarily people wouldn't think of, that would slap it into a story or a movie. But that's why I put this on my list, because I love the movie, and you should too. So, and our fifth is going to be Night of the Lepus. Now, this is a bad mamma jamma. Basically, this small town in Southwest America winds up getting terrorized by giant winds up getting terrorized by giant bunny rabbits. Now, Easter is coming, so this might be a selection for you to come and check out. This was my first selection for Evil Animals Week, and if you have not checked this out, I definitely recommend. This is my Warner Brothers release. I don't think it's anything special, just the cover art on the disc, very cheaply put, I may add. But the back art, you got the old cute bunny rabbit. How many eyes does horror have? How many times will terror strike? It strikes many times, let me tell you. But just the sheer silly of the sheer silliness of this movie came out in 1972. It was directed by William F. Claxton. You know, it's a fun feature to check out if you never have. Basically, these bunny rabbits get hit with some sort of like radioactive waste, I believe it is, underground. They wind up growing all just absolutely super huge and killing people. So you're never gonna love rabbits the same. I still love bunnies, but you're gonna look at them different, and Easter's gonna be different if you watch this movie. So, Night of the Lepus is my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 selection for this list. Now, my last selection, my last physical selection, we'll say, is going to be Arachnophobia. Now, Arachnophobia, this came out, I didn't think to look or remember by chance. I know this came out in the earlier 90s. This is my cheaper, just Walmart edition. I think I got this bad boy at nothing too crazy as far as for special features or, you know, for any of the artwork or anything. But Arachnophobia. Who is not deathly afraid of spiders? Please tell me now, because I do not believe you. Spiders are gross. They are disgusting. And this whole movie just absolutely maximizes on that fear. John Goodman is absolutely hilarious. Slash awesome. You also have Jeff Daniels in this bad boy. Arachnophobia is one of those movies that I can't really say a whole lot. I don't feel like I have to go on like a 10-minute rant as far as to sell this movie to tell you to definitely check this one out, because Arachnophobia rules. That is all for that one. Check out Arachnophobia. Spiders is the animal. Spiders. Terrifying, creepy, crawly spiders, if you will. Okay, so my last one for this list, I'm going to have to once again superimpose with the powers that may be, the ultimate editing program that I have. I'm going to have to superimpose a picture right here. The last movie that I am going to have on my list, I do not have a physical copy of, and actually I've never even seen, but the Mrs. Lo-Fi Horror Guy demanded that I have this on my list. It is 1991's Strays is the movie. John McPherson is the director. Basically, from my understanding, is this family moves into a house. They see a couple of stray cats that they wind up taking in. They wind up taking in the stray cats, and those aren't the only occupants. Now, I can't really say a whole lot, but the Mrs. Horror Guy used to have it on a cassette tape that was recorded off TV along with Cujo. So her and her friends would watch Strays and then watch Cujo as a back-to-back, you know, kind of like a drive-in type deal with their popcorns and their candies. So I'm gonna have to check it out. I am still on a everlasting quest to see if I can find the movie, but I have not yet. So without further ado, that is my evil animals list. Go ahead and go on my Instagram, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy, with underscores between every word for whatever reason. Check out my posts, like, follow, comment, whatever you want, ask questions, give me suggestions for other movies that you would like to see. And this was my list for Evil Animals Week. We've got Backcountry, which is bears. We've got Congo, which is gorillas, monkeys. We've got Silent Predators, which is snakes. We've got Unknown Origin, of unknown origin, which is rats. We've got Night of the Lepus, which is bunny rabbits. And we have Strays, which is cats. I did not even on purpose do this to where I basically went through every basic animal that you could think of and didn't repeat one once. So give them the old pat on the back, you know what I'm saying? The Lo-Fi Horror Guy here to spread some horror love for you guys. Without further ado, give me a ding, give me a dong, give me a bing, give me a bong, give me a like, give me a share. If you don't, I do not care. At the end of the day, I just want to spread and share some terrifying creature scares with you fine ladies and gentlemen. That is all for today's feature. I am more than likely going to have a video on Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. Not every day, but you know, we'll see. Life gets kind of busy, unfortunately. That is all for today's episode, and I'm going to slap you with the old 3, 2, 1.
Nice.